Fellow Hoops fans, welcome back to another episode, another season of the Last Shot NBA show here on Little Birdie TV. Once again, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, we're a couple of days away from the start of the NBA season. A lot has happened this off-season. The NBA, it just never stops. It's 24/7, 12 months a year. We've brought the dream team back. We're going to bring on Parky a little bit later on, but we're going to start off with old mate Benyam Kidane from NBA Australia to catch up on all the NBA news that we may have missed during the off-season. My brother BK, how you doing, my man? How was your off-season?
It's good to be back, my brother. The off seasons are getting shorter and shorter every year, but we're back. We're back on deck.
We're back on deck. Listen, man, just before we get to the NBA stuff, I want to touch on your summer, because you did actually have a summer. You were doing quite a little bit of gallivanting around the world. You were in Mexico. You were in New York for the US Open. Just give us a quick rundown, man, on how your summer was, because I was jealous.
Hey man, I was outside. I took my window. There's a few months where there's no games on, so I was on the beach. I was relaxing. I was watching tennis. I wasn't here.
Must be nice, man. Must be nice. All right, BK. Let's get into the NBA news. We're just going to catch up on the major sort of headlines, because a lot did happen in the off season. Before we start on that, BK. Actually, we do have to talk about the biggest news of the NBA off season. I don't know if you saw it, but listen, watch this and just tell me how ridiculous this is. Look at this, BK. Come on. Like, Gordon Hayward went real bogan chic for NBA, season 2022-23. BK, come on, just crack a joke. I know you got something in the chamber.
This to me is a message of intent. I'm only here to hoop. I don't care about nothing else.
He does not care about anything else. All right, BK, we're getting into some of the biggest news. I'm going to run through these real quick because, like I said, there's a lot to talk about. And then we're just going to sort of discuss on what we think is the biggest, or most important, I guess, move of the NBA offseason. We're going to start with the NBA draft. Paolo Banchero gets taken with the number 1 pick. Chet Holmgren taken with the number 2. Both looked good in the limited time that we saw him during NBA Summer League. Unfortunately, Chet Holmgren is injured. He's going to miss the entire season. But we do get to see Paolo Banchero with the Orlando Magic. Rudy Gobert traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves for a lot of players. The Jazz got Malik Beasley, Pat Beverly, Leandro Balmaro, Walker Kessler, Jared Vanderbilt, and 5 draft picks, which is a huge haul there for Rudy Gobert. DeJounte Murray gets traded to the Atlanta Hawks for Danilo Gallinari and 3 draft picks. My New York Knicks, we added Jalen Brunson. We'll get into that in a little bit. The Cavaliers added Donovan Mitchell in exchange for Colin Sexton, who signed a contract extension with the Jazz, Larry Markkanen, 3 future first-round draft picks, 2 future pick swaps. The Jazz are absolutely stocking up on assets this offseason. The LA Clippers added John Wall to their roster as well. He's looked pretty good in preseason. They're preparing for the return of Kawhi Leonard as well. BK, a lot. That's just, like I said, a few of the major sort of talking points. Which was the one that sort of really grabbed your attention?
I mean, it's got to be the Rudy Gobert trade, because the Timberwolves just put all their chips in the middle of the table, and I like that because they got themselves into the postseason mix last year, but they didn't kind of rest on that. Now they've got a guy who automatically makes them one of the best defensive teams in the league, and having those 2 bigs with him and Towns, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they actually can make this work on the court. We know Towns is one of the best big man shooters in the world, the best if you ask him. But also just the fact that you have guys like Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, they're now getting the best screener in the league. So it just adds so many wrinkles to this Timberwolves team on both ends. I'm excited to see how these pieces fit, because if it does, this might just be a team.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it fits as well, BK. I mean, there's been a lot of hype around them and a lot of people saying that the Timberwolves could do special things this season. My only sort of, I guess, question mark around them is, and I know you just touched on it as well, Towns is more of like an, outside shooting type guy. Gobert's going to, man the paint. But we're talking about two big guys there. Rudy Gobert is, 7'2" or something like that. Towns is 6'11", 7 foot, 7'1", in that region anyway. I don't remember the last time that a Twin Towers type setup, other than probably Duncan and David Robinson, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, actually worked, especially with the way the game is now. Do you see that being an issue for the Timberwolves at some stage this season?
I think a best case scenario is they're more of a finesse version of the DeMarcus Cousins, Anthony Davis combo we saw. That's probably the last two big guys we really saw putting work together. But I mean, we've seen, the era of small ball slowly fading away in some regards. With the Minnesota Timberwolves flipped the table on small ball. They're out. They
are all the way out. Like you said, they've gone all in with this Rudy Gobert acquisition. The one for me, BK, that is going to be interesting. We mentioned it last season as well. We talked a lot about the LA Clippers, especially when they sort of started to turn things around in that second half of the season. They've got John Wall now. They're getting Kawhi Leonard back. Apparently, he's begun 5-on-5 workouts with the team as well. So we don't know if he's going to be ready for the beginning of the NBA regular season, but he's going to be back very, very soon. So now you've got John Wall, who, like I said, granted, I didn't see a lot of the Clippers in preseason, but I did see a little bit, and John Wall looked pretty good. So you're adding John Wall to a team that's already got Kawhi Leonard, Paul George on that roster there. They are the favorites to win the title. We're going to get into the odds a little bit later with Parky, but BK, you and I were talking about the Clippers a little bit last year. Pretty well coached team with Ty Lue over there as well. Can they do something special this year?
Hey, as they say, all championships are won on paper. And on paper, the LA Clippers, that's a championship squad. Obviously, things have got to break right for them. They haven't been healthy for the past couple of seasons. But getting John Wall on board, I think it was a great move. And I think as the season goes on, people will, realize that John Wall wasn't finished in Houston. They sat him down. Like when he was playing over the past couple of seasons, John Wall was still nice. And now he's in an environment where the games actually matter. He hasn't really played a game that matters, since he was in DC. And the fact that he's the third guy, like he's getting the third best defender every night out of the starting group, like that's easy money for John Wall. So if he can keep himself fit, and I really think his game as a playmaker, getting the ball in the hands of the right guys at the right times, that's one of John Wall's great skills. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this actually translates on the court, because I think we may look back in a few months and see John Wall as maybe one of the most impactful under the radar signings this season. Yeah,
and look, one of the knocks on John Wall as well, I think, people's memories are quite short term these days, because in the 20 odd games that he played with the Rockets, he actually still did look pretty good in those. And I noticed in preseason, he seems to have lost none of his speed. Like he's getting up and down that court like he was 10 years ago, which is actually phenomenal in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, John Wall's a baller. Like he can still hoop. He's only 31 years old. He still has a lot of game left in him. And the fact that he hasn't, played that much over the past couple of seasons, we've seen him talking a lot during preseason just about how excited he is to get back out on the court. When you have a guy like that that's motivated in a winning situation, and then as you said, obviously with Ty Lue on board, I mean, it's hard to really put too much stock in the Clippers just because they haven't really proven it to us in recent seasons. But when you put all the pieces together, we know what Kawhi Leonard can do. Paul George, did a terrific job. He only played like 30 regular season games last year, but he was awesome for the Clippers. Now you're adding another guy like John Wall, who can handle the ball, score, create. This is a deep team, man. I really think the LA Clippers, like they'll go into this season with a lot of confidence, but again, they just have to stay healthy. We've been singing the same song for 3-4 years now.
Yeah, look, BK, like you said, NBA championships are won on paper, and they've already gotten that ball rolling because they are looking pretty good on paper, BK. Let's talk about another player who played his first game in a long time during this NBA season, and that is Australian Ben Simmons. Played his first competitive game in over a year with the Brooklyn Nets, and guess what, BK? He's looking pretty good, isn't he? And, I said it, I think you said it when he got traded as well, that being with the Brooklyn Nets is an ideal situation for him to be in right now. He's not going to be relied upon to be a shooter. Like we said, when he got traded, He's going to be the third best player on that team as well. The pressure on him, I mean, I guess not the pressure, but the only sort of thing that they're expecting of him is to set the offense up, which he loves doing, get up and down the floor, be that sort of defensive menace that he can be and defend multiple positions as well. Give Kevin Durant the ball, give Kyrie Irving the ball, and just watch him shoot. He's done it so far. He's looking pretty good. We saw in that clip that we just had on screen now. I mean, that was a full-length court pass that he just made look so effortless. I think Ben Simmons, I tweeted this out a couple of weeks ago, I think he's going to have, if not a career year, it's going to be very close to one of his best seasons in the league.
Hey, I'm with you, man. I'm with you because let's look at what the Nets were terrible at last season. Getting up and down the floor, transition, they run a lot of isolation plays. They were not great defensively. These are all the things that Ben Simmons does in his sleep. So I don't need him to shoot at all. No threes, no jump. As long as he can get his free throws right, the rest of it can go because the things he's great at are the things the Nets need. So we've already seen in preseason, there has been some flashes. We've seen just the offensive burden that KD and Kyrie have. When you have a guy like Simmons that's handling the ball, as you saw with that outlet pass, like Kyrie can get on the end of things like that. KD can get on the end of things like that where they're not having to work for every bucket. They can get buckets created for them. And just having that burden kind of shared with another guy, who's an all NBA level guy, one of the best defenders and most versatile defenders. I'm looking forward to seeing some Simmons at the 5 as well this season. The versatility options that he has at his disposal in head coach Steve Nash, along with all the shooters that they have. Like if they can just keep things humming along, I think Ben Simmons is going to surprise a lot of people this season.
Yeah, look, BK, like I said, I think he's going to have a phenomenal season. Again, when we talk about question marks surrounding situations and things like that, you mentioned Steve Nash, right? Now, his in-game adjustments and some of his decisions that he's made in-game have been questionable, right? That's not a hot take. I feel like that's pretty sort of well known, right? So my only thing is now, how does Steve Nash use him throughout this season? You mentioned him, he could be a menace at the 5. Does Steve Nash actually do that? How do you see that one playing out?
Yeah, I think it's just going to be matchup dependent. And that's the beauty of having a guy like Simmons is one night you're the best matchup for the power forward. One night you're the best matchup for the point guard. I mean, Nick Claxton is there as well in the middle. You can run Simmons, in those lineups with him just at the 5, KD at the 4. Like that in itself is terrifying for opposing defenses. But I think initially we've kind of already seen KD and Kyrie defer to Simmons as the lead ball handler when he's in the game, when he's starting the games. And look, they'll find their rhythm, they'll pick their spots. And if Simmons comes in, with different lineups, with those bench guys, even if it's guys like Joe Harris, Seth Curry, Patty Mills, these are all snipers out on the floor. So I think we'll see a lot of versatility from Ben Simmons just because we know he can do so many different things. We know what we're getting from Kyrie. We know what we're getting from KD, but night to night against different teams, different matchups, Ben Simmons is kind of the Swiss Army knife where Steve Nash can go, okay, this is how we're going to play tonight because Ben Simmons allows us to do that defensively.
Look, I think over the last couple of seasons, a lot of people have focused on what Ben Simmons can't do. I think this season especially, he's going to be showing us what he can do and what he can do exceptionally well. He's going to have a great season. All right, BK, listen, I've been waiting to talk about this for the last couple of weeks, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the Los Angeles Lakers. I've had my clip locked and loaded and ready to go, right?
I deserve this.
Because we're going to talk about the Lakers, BK. I was sick of talking to them by the end of the last season, but we're getting straight back into it right now. Now, obviously, they've got Pat Beverly, who we all know has had that tension with Russell Westbrook over the years. They've added Pat Beverly to a roster that's essentially the same as last season in terms of core guys. LeBron's coming back, obviously AD. A lot of trade talk around Westbrook, but he's going to remain with the team for now. Now, look, BK, there seems to be a little bit of tension already. Look at this. Pat Bev trying to call everybody over for a huddle during the preseason, and Russell Westbrook, I ain't having any of that.
Hey, I don't know. Russ kind of explained himself. I'm not reading too much into that. A, it's preseason. B, It's whatever for me. I'm still a lonely resident here on Westbrook Island. Everyone else has left.
Yeah, I think you are the sole remaining guy on that. But in terms
it's
of
roomy out here. It's roomy space.
In terms of Pat Beverly, BK, look, he's a good addition to their squad. Add some 3-point shooting, which obviously they sorely need. Add some defense. Add some leadership. They need all three of those things there. How do you see this one playing out, BK? We spoke about this last season. Westbrook's contract, $44 million, I believe it is. It's going to be hard to trade. They tried all off season. They couldn't quite get it done. Do you think he remains with the squad for the entire season?
It's unlikely, right? Like I think they'll see how things play out, and they'll get a good idea of where they're at as a team, and whether there is a package available, whether it's something in Indiana. Or San Antonio or Utah. There's a lot of veteran guys out there that can help the Los Angeles Lakers, but I mean, I think they're going to give it a shot. I think Darvin Ham has, been pretty committed to running things with Russell Westbrook, whether that be as a starter or even bringing him off the bench. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of experiment does work out if they do end up going down that route. But for Patrick Beverly, I mean, I'm looking forward to just Patrick Beverly's aura in the Lakers, because he's a guy that's gonna hold people accountable. He's gonna curse people out. He's gonna be telling Bron where to go. Like, having a guy like that, you don't need to be the best player on the court to be a leader, as Patrick Beverly has shown throughout his many stops around the NBA. So I'm more looking forward to the Patrick Beverly energy that this Lakers team might carry, because guys like that, their personality rubs off on teams. We saw him do that in Minnesota. Obviously a different situation with the young squad that kind of needed that. But he's going to do a lot of those similar things for the Lakers. And honestly, it's things like that the Lakers need. They need a little bit of fight.
Yeah, you mentioned aura, and straight away my mind went to that Dave Chappelle skit where he talks about Rick James. I could see his aura.
Haze.
Listen, I don't know if Pat Beverly's definitely going to be a difference maker on this squad, but he's definitely going to be a good addition. I like the idea of Westbrook coming off the bench, believe it or not. I just feel like at this stage of his career that's probably the role that suits him, where he can come in off the bench as the sixth man and be that sort of spark plug and get that second unit going and just play his game. He can play that game, or his natural game, with the second unit more than he can when he's on the floor with LeBron and AD and all these guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's mainly the LeBron Westbrook issue, because you want the ball in Westbrook's hands, but the ball is going to be in LeBron's hands. So it's hard to kind of get any kind of chemistry between those two guys. I want to see AD and Russ get a little bit more of a consistent run together this season, because I think that's a combo that we may see a lot of. Maybe when LeBron's on the bench, you have those two guys out there playing that two-man game. We didn't get to see that a ton last season. So I want the Russell Westbrook thing to work. I'm ready to admit that it probably won't. But
yes, hallelujah.
Him a chance.
It's 14 months later, Benyam Kidane finally admits that it's not going to work. I love it. All right, BK, we're just going to touch on one more topic, and then we've got to let you go. We're going to talk a little bit about Ime Udoka and the Boston Celtics there. Now, my man Ime Udoka somehow fumbled 2 rings in the last 6 months. Obviously, they lost the NBA Finals, 2 games away from an NBA championship. And he seemingly had a breakup with his wife. I don't even know if they're married, but for the sake of this argument, they are Nia Long. He's been suspended for the season for inappropriate conduct, which we're not going to get into. It's been done to death already. I'm just curious, BK, about your thoughts. Now, we spoke about the great job he did with that squad after their early season struggles last season, obviously getting them to the NBA Finals. Now they're going to be coached by assistant coach Joe Mazzulla, who's taken over as interim coach for the upcoming season. How does this affect the Celtics, man? Are they going to go from NBA Finals back to the pack, or you think they're going to be able to maintain?
Yeah, look, that's going to be interesting, because my honest answer is I have no idea. This could go either way. I mean, they were a couple of games away from being the champs. Like that you don't just stop being good. So I think it's really going to come down to a question of their leadership. Is Jason Tatum that guy that's able to kind of get them over the line? Winning fixes everything, and people will just be talking about what's happening on the court. If there's a few cracks that start to appear early in the season, I mean, I just don't know how they kind of will approach things, but I think they'll still be fine. They still have a very good roster, and if they get off to a good start, then I think this will kind of all be forgotten. And then we'll just remember that the Celtics are a great basketball team and Jason Tatum is awesome. But
yeah.
I have no idea. This could go either way.
And I think Jason Tatum's actually going to take another leap forward this season. He took another leap last year. I think he's going to take another one this season. I don't know much about Joe Mazzulla as far as how good a coach he is. In saying that, I do think that, especially in the early part of the season, a lot of it is going to be guided by the players in terms of how well they're actually doing. Again, that's just me being completely honest. I don't know much about Joe Mazzulla as a coach. He may be phenomenal. I don't know. But I just think that there's enough great players and leaders and, some veterans on that Celtics squad that will keep them afloat, especially in the early part of the season. As far as going back to the finals, we'll wait and see, BK.
And they're better this season too. They have a better team. They went out and brought in some guys. They got Brogdon. They got Blake Griffin. We don't know what Gallinari's impact's going to be this season, obviously with his injury.
Yeah.
But they've got some depth. They've got other guys on this team that I think fit their ambitions and what they're trying to do. I think the Boston Celtics will still be good this season. You said Jason Tatum's going to take another leap this season, which I agree with. I think Jaylen Brown has another level in his game that we'll definitely see as well.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. All right, BK, we're going to let you go. Before we do, because we're not going to see you again until Friday morning. Before we do, I need to get your NBA championship prediction right now.
Hey, this one's for you, Nick. I'm all in on the Greek Freak. I'm all in on the Bucks.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I'll tell you why I love it, because I don't know if I'm all in on the Greek Freak and the Bucks this season.
Hey, I sold my timeshare on Westbrook Island. I got a nice villa in the Greek Islands now. I'm with you. I
love it, BK. I love it. All right, my man. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to catch you again on Friday morning.
I appreciate you, my brother.
All right, it's time to bring on our resident betting expert, two-time NBL champion, Mr. Andrew Parkinson. Parky, good morning.
Good morning, Slick Nick. How are you, buddy? I cannot believe it's only 49 hours until the NBA season starts. So
I know.
It's an exciting time, mate. We've got a couple of good games coming up Wednesday, Australian time.
We do, Parky, and like BK said, these NBA off seasons just seem to be getting shorter and shorter every year. Look, I'm not complaining about it, but they are getting shorter.
Yes, they are. And I'll tell you what, how about the news that there's a lot of controversy? It was like a reality TV sort of series over the off season with the Suns owner getting in a bit of strife, and then you've already touched on Coach Udoka with his misdemeanors. And there's been a lot going on with Pat Bev being traded to the Lakers, and what's going to happen with Russ. And we've got Kawhi back. We've got Zion back, hopefully.
Yep.
We tweaked his ankle the other day, so a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, absolutely, Parky. You mentioned the Lakers. I've already cracked a few jokes. I want to crack a few more. So let's get straight into it. Let's take a look at the championship odds for this season, Parky. We've got the LA Clippers are now the NBA championship favorites, $6.50. The Warriors at $7. And obviously that goes down the line right there. The Celtics, $7.25. Nets, $8. Bucks, $8. Phoenix Suns, $12. Philadelphia 76ers, $15. Heat, $16. The next one right here, the next line here is the one I want to talk about. Nuggets at $17. Parky, the Los Angeles Lakers are $17. Whoever is putting money on the Los Angeles Lakers to win this NBA championship is throwing money away, Parky. Tell me I'm right.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. I think that should be about 30 to 1, about $30, to be honest. I think they should be around. I think they've got as good a chance as sort of the Grizzlies around that $29, $30 mark. But they only won 33 games last season. And look, even if they win, they're going to have to win at least 10 more, I guess around 10 to at least make the play-in. So, unless they make a trade or they can do something with Russ, work something out. They need shooters, they need youth. But I think that's $17. Look, the Lakers are always too short at the start of every season because they're such a popular team to bet on. So I think the sports books sort of take that into consideration, and a lot of people go to Vegas and Lakers fans, and they put a lot of money on the Lakers to win the championship. So I think that's why they're so short. But it's unbelievable. They're $17.
Who do you like though, Parky, out of those teams that we mentioned there? I mean, who's obviously your pick for the championship, and who do you think is good value for money?
Yeah, well, I think the sports books have got it right. I think the bookies have got there's 5 teams in there, and I think that are all sort of single figures. After that, I think you've got the Suns at $12. But I Look, the Clippers have really firmed. They've come out. It was only a couple of weeks ago that the two NBA finalists, the Celtics and the Warriors, were sort of co-favorites, and there's been a lot of money coming in for the Clippers, so they've taken over sort of that top spot there at $6.50. But then you've got then you've got the Celtics and the Warriors in there. But the pick for me, I'm a bit like BK. I'm liking the Bucks at $8. I think they're my pick, and the reason being is they were only an injury away. I think Middleton's injury, I think they would have got through and beaten the Celtics that series.
I agree.
And I assume they would have taken care of the Heat, and I think they would have played off for the title against the Warriors. And I feel they could have been. I don't think the Warriors would have a matchup for Giannis. I mean, no one really has a matchup for him. So I like the Bucks at $8. There's a few outsiders there you could look at. I mean, the Suns, if they can get their shit together basically and get something out of DA. And get a good trade for Crowder, and maybe even trade DA and get something there. I think $12 for a team that won 64 games last year in the Western Conference. I think they're pretty good value at 12. And I mean, for those Sixers fans, $15 for the Sixers isn't bad if Harden gets his act together. The Mavs, who made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals, they're decent value at $21. So. Who do you like, Nick? What jumps out at you?
Parky, I'm going to reserve my actual NBA championship pick for Wednesday when we do our in-depth season preview. I agree with you on the Milwaukee Bucks, and like I said to BK, I'm not completely off that bandwagon because I agree with you in the sense of if they were completely healthy last year, I like them, and I'd picked them last year to get through to the NBA Finals.
And if you notice, I didn't mention the Nets because
that's what I was just about to mention, actually, the Brooklyn Nets, because I just feel like with Ben Simmons, again, small sample size in the NBA preseason, but I just know what he's going to be able to contribute to that team. If they're able to stay healthy and, Kyrie plays like he played in those limited games that he played last season, KD can play like KD, and you add Ben Simmons to that squad. My only concern with them is the coaching of Steve Nash. So we'll see how that one plays out. I'm going to reserve my NBA championship pick for Wednesday, but I like Brooklyn and Milwaukee in the East. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, no, we can talk more about that Wednesday because I think we might differ a little bit there. I'm not as high on those Nets. They have drifted too. They were sort of $7 only a couple of weeks ago, and they've drifted out to, I think, at least $8 now. Yeah. So, but yeah, we could talk more about that Wednesday, mate. I know we've still got to cover the MVP and the Rookie of the Year. Yeah,
let's get into the MVP odds as well and see who there we go. Luka Doncic is the favorite, which is surprising, but again, it's kind of not. He's $5.50. Embiid is $6.50. Giannis Antetokounmpo is $7. Kevin Durant, $10. Jokic, the guy that's gone back-to-back in the MVPs, is $10. Tatum, $12. Ja Morant, $13. Steph Curry, is $13 as well. And then we get into, I guess, some guys that are the outsiders here. Kawhi Leonard, 23. Booker, 26. Zion Williamson, 26. And down the line we go right there. Parky, who do you like? Again, it's very early. Obviously, that season hasn't even started, but who do you like?
Embiid.
Yeah,
I like Embiid in this one. $6.50. He's firmed up. You could get. I got him at $7.50 a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, he's firmed up, and I just think it's going to go to someone who hasn't won it.
Yeah.
That's generally the way it goes because the guys that win it set such a high standard. Of course, Jokic got back to back, but that's because last season he carried that team. They had a great record. He had unbelievable better numbers than he had when he actually won it the year before. Yeah. But I just think it's so hard to sort of for the NBA to sort of give it to a previous winner. So I'm looking at the guys that haven't won it, which Luka is the favorite, but I think he's a bit too short at a $5.50 sort of favorite. And depending on if he can sort of play the whole season, that's the same for Embiid. But and if you look at the other guys, I'm just looking at guys that haven't won it. Tatum at $12 is decent value. I mean, Steph at $13. That's not bad value because the Warriors are going to be good. And and Steph has won it before, which goes against my theory, but that's not bad value. And of course, Ja Morant, who was the most improved player last year, really bumped up his shooting. And if he keeps working on his game, he's probably decent value at $13 as well. But yeah, for me, it's going to be someone that hasn't won it before, and that's why I think Embiid. There's an argument Embiid should have won it last season. So I think it's probably, I think it'd be good karma, good sort of justice if he has a good season and Embiid wins.
I think I agree with you, Parky. I think there might be a case of voter fatigue, for both Jokic and Antetokounmpo, because they've both gone back-to-back the last 4 years. I don't know. I watched Giannis play in Eurobasket for Greece during the summer, and he was absolutely phenomenal. He basically carried us to, I think, the quarterfinals. We ended up going out. So he was phenomenal, and I just feel like he's going to carry that form into the NBA season as well. But
you should carry us. I didn't know Australia were playing in Eurobasket.
I've got two countries, Parky. I've got two countries, mate. That's the beauty of it.
I just thought I'd pick you up on that one. That's a good one.
I got two. Mate, you're married to a Greek. You know how passionate we are.
Yeah, but you don't say us when they bomb out in the Euro Cup or something like that, mate. It's, you only jump on when the Greek freak plays for you.
No. We always ride through thick and thin. But yeah, look, I think Steph Curry at $13 is good value. I know Luka Doncic is a little bit short there with the odds at $5.50, but I actually like him. I picked him, I think it was 2 seasons ago to win the MVP, or could have been, I think it was pretty sure it was 2 seasons ago, and he didn't win it, obviously. So he could be a strong contender for that one there. I think he's going to have a great season. He's slimmed down. He's looking good. So I think he's going to have a great season. We'll see how that one plays out. All right, Parky, let's take a quick look at the Rookie of the Year odds, and then we're going to get out of here. We've got Paolo Banchero here, the favorite, $2.94. As we mentioned, Chet Holmgren, the number 2 draft pick for OKC, is out for the entire season. Jaden Ivey looked good in preseason for the Pistons as well. He's $5.60. Jabari Smith, $6.50. Keegan Murray, $6.50. Benedict Mathurin, $8.75. And then again, we go into the outsiders here. Shaedon Sharpe, man, he can jump. He had that amazing dunk the other day. Dyson Daniels, the Australian, $23. Johnny Davis, $23 as well. And then again, as you can see, we go down the line, getting the odds getting longer and longer as we go down there. I don't really see anyone here that's going to challenge for Rookie of the Year. My money's got to go with the number 1 draft pick, with the favorite, Paolo Banchero. Limited time that we saw him in the NBA Summer League, but man, he looked pretty good in what I saw of him.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Nick. Yeah, I think he's about $3. I think $2.95, $2.94, something like that. But he's going to play a lot with the Magic, and I think he's the guy that's looking the goods. There's only really 5 in the betting there, but the one I like for outside value, who's looking, I think, really good. You mentioned Benedict Mathurin. Is it Mathurin? Mathurin?
I thought it was Mathurin, but
yeah, Mathurin. We'll go with Mathurin for now. But yeah, he's from Arizona, and I think he's with the Pacers, and I think he's going to. From what I saw, and he's going to play a lot of minutes, and he's a ready-made player. So at $8.75, I think that's great value. And for an outsider, Dyson Daniels went number 8 in the NBA draft, and he's with the Pelicans, and that team's going to do pretty well. And if he can get a bit of time there, he could be some sneaky value. But I really don't see it coming out of anywhere except the top 5 in the betting at the moment. And if we always have to qualify this for these individual player awards and even the team awards with injuries. So as long as these boys, because you got to remember they've both come, or the guys we're talking about anyway, have come from a college system, and they play 25 to 30 games, and once they get into that professional environment where it's an 82 game season, it's a whole different story. So you got to make sure your body can hold up. We saw what happened to the number 6 draft pick the year before with Josh Giddey. We're watching him, and they shut him down with a niggly hip injury, I think it was, towards the end of the season. So a lot of these Rookie of the Year sort of picks, you've got to sort of work on how the team's going to play it, whether they're going to how their injuries go. But I'll tell you what, it's a lot of people are betting on the Rookie of the Year for the following season, because with Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson being the top 2 picks, I think it's going to be very interesting, and that's going to have a ripple effect on the way this NBA season is going to play out, because if teams aren't going well earlier on, they're going to shut things down and try and get those, those top 2 picks.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing I do want to touch on, you did mention Dyson Daniels. I agree with you there, Parky, that, at $23, look, I don't think he's going to win Rookie of the Year. I do think those odds are going to shorten as the season goes along, though, because I think Dyson is going to have a pretty good season. I think the Pelicans, again, like you said, we've got to qualify it with, are they going to stay healthy? If they stay healthy, I think the Pelicans are going to be a surprise team to watch. And I'm telling you right now, if they're healthy, they're going to finish top 4 in the West.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. And I think, look, it's going to be, it's going to be great to see how the Pelicans go. I know he's tweaked his ankle, but to have him back and the way they, conduct themselves, in the postseason play as well. So it's, there's a lot to look forward to with this upcoming NBA season, and there's a few outsiders there. There's some juicy odds there for some of those picks.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Pikey, we're going to leave it there. We've gone overtime today in today's episode, but there was a lot to catch up on.
I thought we were doing a 2-hour show. I thought I've got a lot of notes. Yeah. I've still got a lot more. I've got a lot more material. I thought it was a 2-hour show.
We'll save it for Wednesday's show when we go in depth in our season preview. We'll take a look at the Aussies in the league, and obviously we'll go into some of the games and everything coming up as the season tips off on Wednesday morning. Parky, we're going to catch you then.
Okay, look forward. I'm going to have a couple of good picks for those 2 games on Wednesday as well. So we'll see how we go.
Looking forward to it. All right, guys, that's been another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. We're going to see you guys for NBA tip-off Wednesday morning.